We're back. I've got myself on screen now, so that's great. And Michael is with me now as well, and we're back in business. We've got things the way they should be. Let me get Michael. Yep, there we are. And thank goodness, thank you everyone for hanging with us. Sorry about all that, but we are back in business, and I am on location outside the Siegel House in Cleveland, Ohio. Sorry, that's
Well,
probably
that's
what
always
the connection in Cleveland is not that great, apparently.
well, you're doing your best, and that's all we can really ask for, I guess. Maybe is the best
Yeah.
thing to say.
Now I've got getting some thumbs up, so hopefully everybody is back with us. I apologise for that. If you're back with us, let us know if you can see and hear both Michael and I. It's been a shaky start to the show, but we are anticipating no more problems moving forward. So that was Henry talking about playing Superman and the fact that being the Man of Steel is not just an on-screen responsibility, but something that he takes seriously off-screen as well. And I think that's very befitting of a person playing the role of Superman.
Yeah, like I was saying before. I mean, when you play such a character, it has to change you somehow if you're taking it seriously. I guess is the best way to say that.
Yeah. All right. In other movie news, the Superman Man of Tomorrow animated movie is now know exactly that it's going to be released digitally on August 23rd, and then will be released on Blu-ray September 8th. So sooner than I thought. Actually, it's just around the corner, really. And we have the trailer as we saw last week was officially released, as well as the package artwork for both the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray combo pack and the standard Blu-ray combo pack. It's all very exciting.
Yeah, I'm still thinking. The more I look at it, the more it looks like Archer dressed as Superman, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I just not in love with this costume.
Yeah.
In all honesty, that belt. I love the trunks, but that belt thing just isn't doing a whole lot for me right now.
No, everything else looks fantastic. The cape, the way it comes around over the shoulders, the S is perfect with the right, pretty much a good size. Everything else about the costume, other than the belt and the loops and everything where it connects onto the trunks, looks a little bit hokey. But again, it's probably not something that you'll notice too much throughout the animated film when it's all in motion. Lobo, Parasite are the two main villains of the movie, and as I said, we don't have to wait too long. August 23rd for the digital release, and then September 8th for the physical release.
Mm-hmm. That's gotta wait a long time, but whatever, I guess.
Well, it's already July 1st here because I'm like a couple of hours ahead of you, so it's really only next month for me.
How is the future, Steve?
Well, apparently our internet goes down every now and then. But
that works.
It is what it is. In other movie stuff, DC released the Secret Origin, the story of DC Comics full-length documentary online this past week on YouTube, and I felt sorry for one person who commented on our Facebook group saying that they'd just gone out that very week and bought the physical copy because it was one they hadn't actually seen yet, and then DC go and release it online in its full capacity for everyone to watch via YouTube, which is kind of cool, but a shame for people who had just gone out and bought it.
Yeah, I actually bought the DVD years ago, but I finally got around to actually watching it on the DC Universe app.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to the gym, when going to the gym wasn't like a death sentence, and I'm not that I'm actually saying that just in case anybody out there owns a gym and thinks I'm gonna libel them or something, But I liked it. I'm kind of, how do I say this and not sound arrogant? And every time I ask that question, I end up sounding arrogant. I have watched so many documentaries about comic books that I keep hearing the same stories over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So when I watch these things, there's always like a certain like, oh, I've heard this, and then I got to put myself in the mind frame of this might be the first time somebody's watching a documentary about comic books at all. And on that level, this is a good one to watch. One, Ryan Reynolds is a fantastic narrator. And it's he got the gig because this came out right around the time of the Green Lantern film, so I'm sure there was like some synergy there.
Yep.
But he did some exposition in Blade Trinity, which is not necessarily considered to be a good film. But he did some exposition in Blade Trinity, where I was like, man, this guy's a really good storyteller. So for that alone, it's worth it. It's a good overview of the history of DC Comics. You are not going to get everything into like an hour and a half, 2-hour documentary. But if you haven't seen it yet, by all means, go out, especially since it's free, and watch it. It's well worth it.
And an interesting kind of side story to this, if you scroll to the credits at the very end, there is a nice tribute. Well, there it is, a mention of the Superman homepage and myself in the credits. So that's really cool that we were included on that for our information that we supply, and they use that as some source material. So that's a really cool, nice little tribute there. So really appreciate when our name ends up in the credits for things that we've provided to the service of information for Superman fans.
And I'm just putting it out there, you know, in these times of doing things remotely, both Steve and I are free to, you know, appear on more like official things. So, you know, this is your chance, people.
Exactly.
To produce these things.
Yep. We are, you know, happy to be supervisors. What's one of those titles that we would be useful in?
I just want to be one of the guys that like they interview to talk about something, and then you have like the name, and then whatever you want to say it from. So, I mean, you know, it's a stupid goal, but I think it's a relatively harmless one as well. So,
indeed. All right. Well, it's time to do our monthly segments. It is the last day of the month for you guys there. For us in Australia, it's already the first day of the next month. But it's time to do those monthly segments. The big question is the first one off the rank, and here is our promo intro.
Let's start with the big question.
What do we have as... what was last month's question, Michael?
How do you feel about HBO Max releasing the Snyder Cut of Justice League in 2021? And Kenny Crowley Jr. wrote, "Hey guys, while I'm not the biggest DCEU DC Films fan, aside from Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Aquaman and parts of Man of Steel, I am happy for those who want to see the Zack Snyder Cut of Justice League released. Thank you, and keep up the super amazing work, Steve and Michael, and up and away. Sincerely, longtime Superman fan, Kenny Crowley Jr. from Ohio." And Kenny, I'm not wanting to pick a fight, but I would say that if you like Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Aquaman, and parts of Man of Steel, you consider yourself kind of a big DCEU fan. I mean, the only things you're leaving out there are Suicide Squad, BVS, and Justice League. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think more than half, you can still consider yourself that.
For sure. Okay, Ron Crosby wrote in, he said, "I've never really been one of the release the Snyder Cut people because I felt it was in the past. I've always just wanted a Man of Steel 2. But with Snyder announcing his Justice League releasing on HBO Max while doing a Man of Steel watch party and having Henry Cavill show up, I'm excited for the possibility that Cavill will get more time as Superman now. And come on, it's got to be better than Justice League." Nice.
Is that a Snyder Cut thing? Is that from that crew? Justice League? That's I don't really know how to feel about that. Stephen Marshall wrote, "I can't wait for Zack Snyder's Justice League as it's more content with Superman. I'm excited to see what Superman's original intended arc was. It would seem in the theatrical cut, which I still like, that we only got a Cliff Notes version. I feel like 2021 is going to be one of the best years for us Superman fans, with Superman and Lois coming as well. In fact, you could say it's going to be super. Insert George Reeves wink," which I can almost see him saying that. Yeah.
John Patrick Van Pelt wrote in and he said, how do I feel about the Snyder Cut of Justice League coming in 2021? I have mixed feelings about it because I remember watching the theatrical release of Justice League in the summer of 2018, which premiered on HBO around my birthday, July 7th, back then. And now 3 years later, I'm hoping Snyder Cut of Justice League is a whole lot better than that theatrical release. A couple of things I like to see moving forward after the release of the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Is there any chance that Snyder will go back and finish the Justice League story he started? I don't think so. And what will the DC Extended Universe look like after the Snyder Cut of Justice League is released? And how will it affect the other extended DC Universe films moving forward? I have a feeling that it won't have any impact whatsoever. I think that this is a one-and-done special feature that they're doing on HBO Max to give the fans what they wanted. But moving forward, it won't have any impact because there won't be any further need for them to touch bases on that element of what they're doing with future films.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to get some kind of like wicked large reaction to the movie, in my opinion, for it to have any impact. This seems to be more of like, here is a curiosity, and not here is, wow, now we're going to have to go move forward with this.
No, I think that's right.
Alex R. wrote, "The fan base for the Snyder Cut is a little off-putting. Their behavior, which seems to continue just moving on to different lost causes, has tainted my view of the Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder never telling them to not be toxic fans online hasn't helped at all. I'll get to that in a second. If I'm subscribed to HBO Max in a year when the product is released, I will watch it, but only if it is a complete story. Any cliffhanger with a mind-controlled Superman obeying Darkseid demanding a sequel means I will not even bother watching." Here's the thing. One of the people that I was pretty supportive of in the current election cycle that's now not in the running anymore, had this as well, where the toxic side of his followers would be kind of vicious online, and everyone demanded that he do something about it. You can't. Zack Snyder could have announced 5 times a week, "Don't do this," and they still would have done it. It is not on Zack Snyder to make somebody else behave like a human being.
Yeah, for sure.
And not be a jerk. And, I know I have complained a lot over the years about Zack Snyder's vision of the DC Universe and how I don't agree with him. And I have taken exception to certain things he said. But that doesn't mean I dislike him. At the same time, I also don't hold him responsible for his followers unless we find, like, the secret stash of emails where he told them to do that. But since I doubt that happened, I don't think it's up to him to make them behave. It's up to people to behave on their own.
Exactly. That's on each individual person. And there have been some people within the Snyder Cut faction, if you like, who have gone on to raise money for charity as part of their call for the release of the Snyder Cut. So they're not all bad. There are, just like in the protests we've seen there in the US for the Black Lives Matter, there are the people who are on topic, and then there are people who are, the bandwagon jumpers, and then there are others who have, doing different things with it. So, you can't hold one whole group accountable for the actions of a few idiots.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're looking forward to the release of the Snyder Cut in 2021 on HBO Max, and hopefully in some other physical format for those who don't have access to HBO Max down the track. But thank you for all those people who wrote in for the Big Question segment of the show. Michael, what is our new big question for this next month?
Do you have any concerns about the upcoming Superman Man of Tomorrow animated film?
So, I know that there are people who are concerned, like yourself, about the connections or the inspiration that it's taking from Superman American Alien, the graphic novel series. And some people have issues about the costume, as you mentioned, with the belt. So, let us know what you think about the upcoming Superman Man of Tomorrow animated movie. Are there any concerns that you have with it? If so, share those with us by getting involved in the Big Question segment of our show. Head to the Superman homepage website. Under the contact menu, you will find the feedback form for the Big Question segment. We'll read out the responses we receive at the end of July when we get back for the last Tuesday of July. All right, let's head into the super secret sound.
Only one thing alive with less than 4 legs can hear this frequency, Superman, and that's you.
All right, the super secret soundbite from last month came from the Superman the Animated Series episode, The Last Son of Krypton Part 2. Let's hear that again right now.
I'd like to say that I view the Lexo suit not as an instrument of war, but as an instrument to end war.
So there you have it. It was Lex Luthor talking about the Lexo suit. And how many people guessed it right, Michael?
3 people guessed it correctly. They were Jack Roca, Stephen Marshall, and John Patrick Van Pelt.
Excellent. Well done to those 3 people for guessing where in the world of Superman that sound came from. Let's see if those 3 people and more can guess where our new sound for this month comes from. Here it is, the new secret soundbite.
I know I'm not your mom, sweetheart, but you're safe here.
So, do you think you know where in the world of Superman that sound came from? If you do, head to the Superman homepage website. Under the contact menu, you will find the super secret soundbite entry form. Send your entry in, and we will read out the names of everyone who guesses it right when we get back to these segments at the end of July.
Yes, looking for. I actually kind of like that that more people are now participating. We had a lot of reactions.
Yes, especially for the
more
big
than we
question.
usually
That was
get.
good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we're just at the halfway mark of tonight's show. I know we had a bit of a rocky start, but we're in the groove now, so we're going to take a quick break, play some messages, and then we're going to come back on the flip side to talk about some of the things happening in the world of comic books. So stay with us. We'll be back right after these messages.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer. I'm the voice of Superman and Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
He's faster than a speeding bullet. He's more powerful than a locomotive. He can leap tall buildings in a single bound. Who is he? He's Superman!
Now you can see scenes from Superman the movie on a Viewmaster viewer. Just put in a reel and click. You can see Superman, the legendary Man of Steel, in action. You can invite the whole gang over to see him. Viewmaster viewer and Superman the movie packets sold separately in most photo or toy departments.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
So there you have it, the Viewmasters. Geez, I really enjoyed those back in the day. I didn't have that set, but I had some others with Superman.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had a Superman one. But I remember friends having more than I did. And, it's kind of funny, not to sound like, I'm trying to tell people to get off my lawn. or anything, but those were like the only times where you could get like images from movies and TV shows and stuff, because there wasn't really. I mean, we got our first VCR in 1983, so I was still like 7 years old. But before that, you didn't have. Before that, we didn't have anything like that, and you were just lucky when stuff came on. So having a Viewmaster of anything was like having a little piece of whatever that entertainment was.
Yeah, for sure. So, and if you like press them correctly to your eye, they had this 3D quality about them. They had levels of distance, and they were really cool. And I know there's a lot of people out there probably watching us right now going, "What the hell are you guys talking about?"
I think they say that a lot.
Yes.
In all honesty.
Mind the Gap says now they are VR apps for that. So and that was kind of like the early incarnation of a VR app when you think about it.
Yeah, because you're putting it like really like right up to your eyes.
Yeah.
So there was no other like it was dark and all you saw was the image.
You were totally immersed in it. So and Anthony, yes, there was a Superpowers Viewmaster set back in the day. I think that's the one I had. Superman was like getting struck by lightning in the sky, blocking it from hitting an aeroplane, if I recall correctly. So yeah, it's kind of a little flashback to a more simpler time. All right, let's push on to the comic book side of things. And this week in comic books, there isn't much of the physical format to go to for Superman fans. But what we do have is Supergirl number 42. This is the final issue of this series, and it's only available for digital download, as was issue number 41. So the final issue of the Supergirl series, available July 1st for digital download only. Also out this week in a physical format is the Infinite Crisis Omnibus hardcover new edition, a 2020 edition. Don't know why they keep coming out with new editions. Maybe because it's the print ran out on the first one. I'm not sure. And available for download now is Superman, the Man of Tomorrow, number 9, digital DC Digital First Publishing Program Initiative. So that's what's up this week.
I also want to point out, for the last 3 weeks, DC has also been slowly releasing the George Perez issues of Action Comics from the post-crisis era. I guess because they have the digital versions for the digital version of that Adventures of George Perez, or Adventures of Superman, Adventures of George Perez. That might be an exciting comic too. But it's just kind of neat because some of Superman is so haphazard. As what is actually available digitally. Like, hundreds of issues are available, but man, when you go to the Bronze Age, there's almost nothing between both Action Comics and Superman. So anytime I see something new pop up, I get kind of excited and hope that it means that there's going to be more. Yeah,
for sure. And DC also gave us access to a few preview pages of their upcoming DC Cybernetic Summer. It's a anthology series, and we have some preview pages to show you there. That's the cover. There is a table of contents page, and amongst those, you'll probably note is there is Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes in a story called Summer Lovin', and in Summer Lovin', We've got Superboy there with the Legion of Superheroes, a couple of preview pages for you to check out. There's even a Superboy robot amongst that couple of pages there, and you can check out all the preview pages at our website. And there's also a couple of other stories in there, including Cyborg Superman, and Superman. And this comes out on July 28th.
You know, Cyborg Superman is not wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. I'm going to be really disappointed in this book.
As Mind the Gap says, these anthologies are usually tryout books. They kind of give you a taste of something, and if it gets kind of a great reaction, then that might be an opportunity for a ongoing series.
Yeah, I mean, you always kind of want that. The DC is kind of in a state of flux right now, so I'm wondering if they're still using that as a model, but you never know.
And DC also gave us a first look at the map guidebook, if you like, for the Metalverse, and this is a interactive map which you can go to dccomics.com/metal, and when you hover over the various locations, it comes up with some different information. There's War World, Megapocalypse, Slaughter Swamp, and others, and this is something you can check out ahead of the release of Dark Knight's Death Metal #2, which will be released on July 14th.
Oh, it's
the bat symbol.
It's a bat symbol, he said sarcastically.
With the Superman kind of little, figure down the bottom in the north, south, east, west kind of little thing that they do on maps.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
Not at all. So that's the Metalverse map, which you can check out on our website, or as I said, head to dccomics.com/metal, and DC Dark Knight's Death Metal #1 is out already, but the second issue will be released on July 14th. All right, just on other things, other releases, we've got a book coming out, a graphic novel intended for the younger audience called Flash Facts, and this book has been collated together with Big Bang Theory star. I'm trying to look for
Mayim Bialik.
Yes, and it's a book that contains information on questions like: have you ever wondered what's at the bottom of the sea? Why do polar ice melt? Which tools do forensic scientists use to solve crimes? It's a collection of stories, a graphic novel anthology set to debut in February 2021, and it's geared towards readers aged 8 to 12. And we've got a couple of preview pages for you to be able to check out, including Superman and Batman on a ski lift.
If you want to get into the more interesting side of Twitter, look at the tweets about how people think that Mayim Bialik may not be the best one to curate this. So I'm not going to get into why. I'm just kind of fascinated that it happened.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So, that's a couple of preview pages there for Flash Facts, which you can check out on our website. And you can pre-order this book now ahead of the release of the book in early February next year.
It's still kind of cool. This reminds me of like the DC encyclopedia or the DC dictionary where Lex Luthor stole 40 cakes. By the way, that's 4 times 10, y'all. It's what I learned from that page.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago at Dragon Con, a guy dressed as that Lex Luthor and dragged behind him a rolling thing with 40 cake with. They're not real cakes, obviously, but he was stealing 40 cakes as he was going through the con.
Very cool.
So, I thought it was awesome.
Very good. And while the Superman celebration wasn't able to take place in Metropolis, Illinois this June, fans did get together and run a virtual 2020 Superman celebration as a way to gather online and celebrate Superman while also supporting the city of Metropolis. And events took place via the Zoom video conferencing app over the weekend of when the celebration would have taken place. And one of those online Q&A panels is now available for you to watch on YouTube, and it was called Growing Up with Superman, and it involved actor Aaron Smolinski, who chatted about growing up playing various roles in various Superman movies, including Baby Kal-El in Superman the movie, Little Boy in the Phone Booth in Superman 3, and then a soldier in Man of Steel.
Yeah, we keep saying this, but if we can't have the kind of convention experience that we normally have, why not do this?
Well, hello everybody. Good day.
Of the video that you can check out there on YouTube with Aaron, as I said, there in front of himself as Baby Kal-El, and that whole Q&A panel is available to watch at our website right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're really, how many people can talk about being on the set of not just one, Superman film, but at this point 3. So
indeed, in different roles too. That's quite interesting. All right, just on another note, I had contact with a fan called Patrick Rogers this week who alerted me to the fact that he is part of a huge cycling event called Pelotonia, and he rides in this particular event to raise funds for cancer research, but he does it dressed in full Superman costume, and which is very cool. We have an image of him right now to check out. Well, that's the Pelotonia cycling race, and there is Patrick Rogers, I guess from last year, riding in full Superman costume. It's a 2-day bike ride to raise funds for cancer research, as I said, at the Ohio State University Comprehensive Cancer Center, the James, and today it's raised over $120 million. And,
oh, wow.
Patrick is riding the race in memory of his father, Dan Rogers, who passed away from cancer back in February 2018. And if you want to make a donation towards Patrick's fundraising efforts, you can head to our website for the link, or head to pelotonia.org.
Yeah, that's cool. And I hope that whatever material that's made out of it breathes well, because I don't want to think about bicycling in a full Superman costume.
Yeah, indeed. All right, we have a caller waiting on the line. We'll get to him in a second, but this is probably a good opportunity to go through the This Week in History stuff. If you want, we can do that whenever you're ready. I'll play your intro for you right now.
I am.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bonds of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
All right, we're going to skip 1940 because we did that last week. In 1950, on June 30th, you had Superman number 66, which has a baseball-themed cover, and it had 3 Superman stories in it: The Babe of Steel, The Last Days of Superman, and The Machine That Played Cupid. I'd be interested to learn how many Superman stories over the decades had, like, The Last Days of Superman in the title. Jumping forward to 1960, you have Action Comics number 267. This is, I think this cover more than anything is kind of famous because this Hercules character was used in the All-Star Superman series that Grant Morrison did. It was the Superman story was Hercules in the 20th century, and the Supergirl story was the 3 superheroes. Also in 1960, you had Adventure Comics number 275, which is the origin of the Superman-Batman team, which has a Superboy and a young Bruce Wayne. I wonder if this is the one with the flying fox in it, because there was a story where he dressed up as a fox and helped Superboy out with something. That was kind of cool. Jumping to 1970, we have Action Comics number 391. Oh, man, is Superman a jerk in this story. It's the punishment of Superman's son. And, this is one of those, like, imaginary stories where Superman's just, like, horrible to everyone around him. There was also a Legion of Superheroes story in this one called The Ordeal of Element Lad. Also in 1970, you had Adventure Comics with 2 Supergirl stories, I'm a Witch, and The Mystery of the Super Orphan. Jumping ahead past 1980 and 1990, we have a fun grouping. We have Superman and Bugs Bunny number 2, where Elmer Fudd is dressed as Superman, and I'm going to be waking up screaming from that tonight. But the story is called The Last Son of Krypton, which is mildly offensive. We also have Supergirl number 47, Before the Fall, which has right before... That's like 3 issues before she put on the Supergirl costume from the Adventures of the animated series. Also, we had Superman Annual number 12. You remember Planet DC, Steve?
Yes.
When there was a spate of annuals showcasing new international characters, I remember none of these.
I remember the cover.
I remember the cover. The only one I remember really is the one from, I think it was from Titans Bushido, and that's only because that's one of the characters that Superboy Prime mauled in the Infinite Crisis. Jumping forward to 2010, this is a pretty big one. Action Comics number 890, which starts the Lex Luthor storyline, which I when I finally read this, I actually really enjoyed it. I think the only creepy thing about it was that he had a Lois Lane robot that was his girlfriend. But this turned out to be a pretty good story. I'd recommend it to people. Also, that week, the War of the Superman double feature, which I believe reprints the last 2 issues of that series in one book. Going over to real world stuff, Marlon Brando, Jor-El in Superman the movie, died of lung failure on July 1st, 2004. Noel Neal, Lois Lane in the Superman serials in the 1950s Adventures of Superman TV series, passed away in 2016 on July 3rd. And on July 4th, which is this Saturday, you can celebrate the birthday of Eva Marie Saint, Martha Kent, in Superman Returns, who was born in Newark, New Jersey in 1924. And that is this week in history.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Interesting to look back at some of those issues, especially in our era of reading, when we were actually buying them on a weekly basis. When we, there are others that you look back and you've bought them historically, but the ones that you were waiting for week to week to come out are interesting to look back on.
Yeah, it's funny because like the comics that I bought when I first started, like in the first 5 or 6 years of me first buying comics, I remember a lot about. But I look at that like Superman and Bugs Bunny series, and I remember none of it. I can't even remember what the pages looked like. And frankly, I don't know if I want to go back and revisit that. But I remember buying it. It's right over right past this camera. I have those in a box, but wow. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I remember that. Other times I'm like, it happened.
John's asking, was Superman a bad father? I'm guessing he's referring to that story where you said Superman was a jerk on the cover.
Yeah, he is just like brutally cruel to his son. Action Comics was interesting around that time period. I know a lot of people say that it was like Julius Schwartz that kind of brought a maturity and like kind of got into the Bronze Age, but that like year or so before 1970, Action Comics was really interesting. There were some really weird stories in there, and if you can find those, a lot of them are on Comixology, and they're like $1 a piece this week. I would advise going out and buying those.
Cool. All right, so you said we had Mark Lax waiting to join in on our chat, so I'm going to try to bring him in to this conversation. So I'll look for Mark right now and see if he's available to chat with us. So calling Mark right now and see what's on his mind this week. Hello, Mark. Are you there with us? That's cool.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, there he is.
All right. Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. Yourself?
Oh, not too bad.
That's good.
Getting along.
What's been on your mind this week with Superman news?
Well, I was thinking a little about the Snyder Cut. That, I'm going to watch it. It's not, it's not something that I would care that much about, but seeing as how it's going to be on HBO Max and they're going to put some effort into it, I'll watch it. I don't think it's going to do much. But, I'm just thinking that because they gave him a little more money, And now it's going to be HBO Max and all that. And he's supposed to be, I guess, redesigning Steppenwolf. I'm just curious how much of this is going to be the actual Snyder Cut. In other words, if tragedy unfortunately didn't happen and he stayed on the movie and finished the movie that we're going to get on HBO Max, is that going to be the exact same movie? And I'm I don't think so. I mean, does that matter? I guess not. It's still, I guess, in the end, what he wants it to be. But I was just curious because, they want the Snyder Cut like there was an actual cut that was actually done that you could put out, at the time. And now he's going back and he's doing all this other stuff. So I'm just wondering how much is this the original vision and how much of it is, changed or influenced.
Well, I guess there's the interesting part of it is that he probably had finished doing the majority of filming with the actors in what he wanted to do, and therefore all that was required was the special effects work to complete those shots, because I believe the Snyder Cut existed in some form or fashion for people in Warner Brothers to see, and some of the actors said that they'd seen it, but obviously incomplete as far as special effects and the soundtrack were concerned, because obviously he had Junkie XL as the composer for his cut of Justice League. So I imagine that there's probably not too much there that he hasn't been able to complete, and if there were shots of things that he hadn't done, then maybe they would be able to do them in computer graphics. I don't know. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, it really depends on how complete the work print was. He kept saying that it existed, and there was always like this debate. Oh, it was completely done, and Warner Brothers just scrapped that, or there was a work print, and you're basically watching Ray Fisher walking around in his pajamas. And that mocap suit. Mm-hmm. And that's the one I buy more than anything. I think probably a lot of the editing choices were done. To answer the question, I don't think it will be exactly what he would have released to theaters, but I think it's going to be closer to what he would have released than the Superman 2 Richard Donner cut that we got, which wouldn't have even been remotely what he would have put out.
Yeah, that was that's a nice curiosity, but that was just slapped together just to get a little idea of what Richard Donner wanted to do. But I figured that. I was just, all this time they released the Snyder Cut, and I'm just thinking how much this is going to be as close to what the people who wanted it released want it to be. I don't know. I mean, it's again a curiosity. I know I'll probably watch it, but. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see just exactly what form or fashion the Snyder Cut does take, especially being on HBO Max. Whether they're, as we've said previously, going to be releasing it in episodic form so that it spreads out over a couple of weeks, or whether it will be a 2-part thing or what have you. So we'll wait and see. But I appreciate you calling in, Mark. It's always great to hear from you.
All right, guys.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, Mark.
All right. Bye.
That was Mark Lack, so really appreciate him calling in and being part of the program tonight. But we are pretty close to the end of tonight's show. Is there anything you wanted to add, Michael, to anything that we've discussed tonight?
You were talking before about looking back at the comics that, especially within the existence of the Superman homepage, because one way or another, all of those books were covered in some form, usually reviewed. God, who is the poor person that had to review Superman Bugs Bunny? But
probably Neil Bailey.
It occurred to me with seeing that Action Comics 890 that in about a year we're going to be celebrating 10 years of doing a live show. And
that's crazy.
Those 10 years are going to be weird to do when we get to like the 2011 stuff. I think is just going to be weird because we've covered it already in a certain extent. I mean, we were
Yeah.
there pretty much. Did we start before the New 52, or it was like right when the New 52 started? Was when, because I think it was like September that we started doing the live show.
Yeah.
So, we talked about all of that. So, how weird is it going to be going back, seeing those covers, and going, yeah, now we got to track down what episode of the thing, because all that's still out there on Apple podcasts and stuff, right?
That's right.
So, it's like at that point you're the snake eating its own tail. So what I'm trying to do right now is just enjoy the pre-show things before we started doing this on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just wow,
it's weird.
A whole 10 years
comes full circle.
There you go. Maybe we could get Henry Cavill on for that one.
That'll be nice. I'll have to try to hit him up for an interview. But look, tonight's show is pretty much done. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and watching tonight's live WGBS TV program. I want to thank everyone in the comments there on YouTube for your participation in the show. Thanks to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray, and to those who have made Super Chat donations throughout the show tonight, and to you, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Thanks, Mike.
Pleasure as always, Steve.
Now, don't forget that tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage, website, and our YouTube channel. If you maybe tuned in late or want to check out the show in full, you'll be able to do that on both of those locations. And we'll be back next week on Tuesday, July 7th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for another edition of WGBS TV Live. Look forward to talking to you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.